subsidiary of First Quantum Minerals Limited.
Since gaining independence, Zambia has witnessed the rise and fall of several political alliances, often marred by internal discord and personal ambitions. Now, these alliances, formed with the aim of consolidating power and achieving common goals, have ultimately crumbled due to a myriad of factors such as leadership disputes, mistrust, inflated egos, and individual greed. One of the earliest examples dates back to the year 1962, when both the United National Independence Party UNIP and the African National Congress ANC failed to secure enough votes individually to form a bloc government. In response to the two parties joined forces in 1964, leading to Zambia's independence. However, this alliance was short-lived, giving way to political rivalry and violence shortly after independence. In 1999, the formation of the Zambia Alliance for Progress (ZAP), consisting of 6 political parties, aimed to challenge the ruling party's dominance. Led by the late Dean Namulia Mungomba, ZAP faced internal disagreements, particularly between Ben Mwila and Mungomba, which ultimately led to its re-registration in preparation for the 2001 election. Now, despite efforts, the alliance failed to secure a single seat. Later, in 2006, the UDA, or United Democratic Alliance, was formed by the United Party for National Development (UPND), the Forum for Democracy and Development (FDD), and United National Independence Party (UNIP) to challenge then the ruling party, the MMD. However, internal strife over leadership positions plagued this alliance again, resulting in a third-place finish in the general election. In 2008, in a by-election, we saw again a failed pact between the PF and the UPND. This went on till 2011 in the alliance between the two parties aimed to unseat the ruling MMD. Yet again, differences emerged over leadership, leading Michael Sata to pursue the presidency independently and ultimately succeed. In 2021, we saw again an attempt for the UPND and other political parties to form an alliance which saw the breakaway from the NDC, some moving away and some remaining, and some still saying they are in alliance with the ruling UPND now. The latest addition to Zambia's political alliance landscape is now the United Kwacha Alliance, UKA, which initially showed promise and has very quickly shown some internal divisions. The absence of the Socialist Party led by Dr. Fred Member suggests underlying tensions within this alliance, indicating a rocky foundation from the outset. These alliances, one can say, serve cautionary tales, highlighting the challenges of collective action in the pursuit of political power. The question is, can the UKA form government in 2026? After the break, I introduce my guest. My name is Costa. Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Costa. Welcome to those watching us across the borders. It's channel 271 on DSTV, it's 20 on GOTV, Diamond TV Zambia on Facebook, as well as YouTube. My guest this evening is a very astute lawyer, his state counsel, but also a seasoned politician. Sakwiba Sikota is the interim chairperson of the United Kwacha Alliance. Good evening, state counsel. It's been a while since I last interviewed and interacted with you, and welcome to this program.
Thank you very much, and thank you for making me feel comfortable. When I came here, I found that you are wearing our party regalia.
Nothing. Your party regalia. I didn't know this was the party regalia. I'll remember next time that I should be cautious of that. Anyway, quite a really mouthful around the introduction, but I was just trying to give a perspective on where Zambia is coming from with issues of movements and alliances. It's nothing strange. So with the tone set in this manner, State Council, how different then is the United Kwacha Alliance from the examples given?
Thank you very much for having me. And I think that United Kwacha Alliance is very different from a lot of the alliances that you talked about. Most of the alliances that you talked about were fixated on one thing, which was either removing the colonial government or removing the party in government and so on. That is not what United Kwacha Alliance is all about. United Kwacha Alliance's main aim is to provide alternatives for the people of Zambia so that they can choose for themselves what they think the best path for Zambia is. Also, by providing these alternatives, we are hoping that we will help to correct the government, to help the government do the right things for Zambia. Because our main aim, our principal aim, is actually to get the best for Zambia. That is what makes us totally different from all the other alliances you've talked about. The other aspect which makes us very, very different from the other alliances is the fact that one of the conditions to enter into the alliance is that as you walk into the door, you've got to take off your ego and put it on the hanger. You cannot come in with your ego. The egos are all left outside. And we are also a group of persons who have told ourselves and committed ourselves that once it has been decided as to who will be the one who rules, who is the one who's going to be the one who is our standard bearer, all of us will be willing to work under them and to support them. Further, we've also agreed amongst ourselves that, let's say you're the one who is chosen to be the standard bearer, and then you do become a president. You are not a know-it-all. You are not somebody who has all the solutions. It is a group effort that there will be constant and continuous interaction between us and sharing of ideas and refining of ideas. There's going to be a need for whoever is going to be the one who represents us to be a team player. That is very important. That is what has been lacking in some of the alliances that you talked about. That ego issue, which you correctly pointed out, that is not there in this alliance. That issue of I know it all, I don't need to listen to you, that is not in this alliance. And also that our fixation is not to get power. Our fixation is to provide solutions for the problems we have, to provide alternatives to the people of Zambia. We are different, and that is why we are going to succeed.
Fortunately, State Council, you've been around, not just in the legal fraternity, but also in the political realm. You yourself started with UPND, you broke away into ULP, and then you've been advisor, in campaign platforms with so many presidents past and so on. I've equally done my time to be around to interview most of you, and these things that you're talking about I've heard before. I heard from Michael Sata and Hakainde Hichilema then. I heard from Edith Nawakwi and so on, people in the MMD. So I don't really sound convinced that they are really fundamental alternatives with the UKA right now that convince me as a journalist that there's something different. What fundamentally or legally are you doing different to hold this unity, to hold the fact that there will be no egos? Because it's only at the 11th hour that these alliances begin to break up. We saw this with the UPND and PF. We saw this with the NDC and the UPND. So just saying we're different, I think is not enough.
No, I haven't just said we're different. I have pointed out to you what our focus is. And that is certainly very different. Even in your intro, Even in your intro, you were saying that these alliances, this one came up to take out this one came to take out. In your own intro. Now, what I'm saying is that we are not like that. That is not our focus. Our focus is totally different. That is what makes us different. The other thing is, if you actually look at the pressers that we have had, we've had 2 official pressers. In both of those pressers, we not only identified what problem there was, but we also suggested a way to move away from those problems. That is also something which is different. The other thing which is different about us is that we will not be giving any false promises, promising heaven on earth. If the solution is going to be difficult and hard, we have to be upfront with the people of Zambia. We need to tell them that this is going to be difficult. One thing that I really admire about President Chiluba, he had a lot of things that some people were not happy with and so on. But one of the things that you've got to give President Chiluba is that in the run-up to the 1991 election, when he would have his rallies, he would not go out there and promise people that once you put us into power, the following day this is what will happen or whatever. There wasn't any 90-day promises or anything like that. He was actually telling the people of Zambia that when we come in, we are going to find that the situation is very difficult. We are all going to have to sacrifice. We are going to have to tighten our belts. Are you, the people, ready for this? And the crowd was cheering. It would have been very easy for Chiluba to promise heaven on earth, but he was upfront with the people. And because of that, there wasn't a crisis of expectation which was created. He was being honest during his campaigns. And so that is what we will also be
And using
doing.
that example, probably not an alliance, but the MMD probably was in history one of the biggest success movements of this country. When you look at trade unions, student movement, political parties and so on, rallying around one common enemy, which was debt, bad governance, and trying to bring out multipartism. Now, if you say that yours is different, is to try and provide an alternative, unfortunately, unless I'm not covering the Zambian landscape, we haven't heard a solid fundamental, for example, on what the UK's stance is on a solution towards debt restructuring, which I think is not a problem just of the UPND, a debt problem that started under when the PF joined in 2011, they found it under $3 billion. They left it at over $16 billion. What's the solution on that? We haven't heard what the UKAA is saying on climate change, on boosting our agricultural resources, on revamping our mining. What we've heard so far in one of your first 2 pressers, we carried live your first presser. It was just about condemning the fact that the UPND government must go, and you're calling for early elections because they failed the people and the cost of living is high.
No. Then you were not listening. You were not listening at all. There is no point at which we called for early elections in that presser. It means you were not listening. I'm sure you have it, and you can play back. There was no time when that was done. What we did do is, yes, we did point out the various problems which were there, and we did state that there is general discontent in the country, that we're having a situation where regionalism is growing. We're having a situation where the country is basically falling apart. And we said that it is imperative that we must have some kind of endeavor to try to lessen the amount of tension which is in the country. That is what we said. That was the main point of that first presser. And so it's unfortunate that you've... yet it's in black and white. It's unfortunate that you are misrepresenting it.
If you start misrepresenting...
It's in black and white.
I might not have the clip right now readily available, but from the live a broadcast that we had, it was former President Lungu making statements, and I think this video has gone viral.
That was
of the fact that he was saying, if the people today call it that these people have failed, we must go for an early election, and in certain instances we've heard sentiments of saying President Hichilema should just resign. He has failed the people.
Yes, he should resign. But let me answer. Let me answer. Yes, he should resign. But when he resigns, our constitution says who takes over. It doesn't say when he resigns there is an early election. That is not the same thing. With regards to UKA positions, UKA positions are what is set out in our presses. You then had journalists who wanted to ask things which were off topic, but our official position is always what is in our presses.
So taking advantage of you being here, Mr. Interim Chairperson, because you consider me misrepresenting what was at that presser, what is your official position? Are you calling for an early election because the people are too discontent, people are too angry, people are too upset of the lies of the UPND, or rather you are an alliance that is calling for a solution-based Indaba and you are ready to engage and sit with the party in government?
One of the things that we are calling for is that obviously this government has failed. That there is no doubt about. That's why you see so much discontent in the country. Now, in order to save Zambia, we feel that it would be the decent thing for President Hichilema to resign. That is absolutely...
You're calling for his resignation?
Yes, yes.
On what basis?
On the basis of what the stage at which he's brought this country, the amount of discontent there is in this country. Even his own Inspector General of Police says that there is a total breakdown. That's what it's from the Inspector General of Police. He says there's such a breakdown of security in the country that you cannot even have rallies. That's how bad it is. That's his own Inspector General. So if it's come to that stage, it shows there's failure. Unless the Inspector General is going to tell us that in fact things are not as bad as he is putting it out to be. That is from his own Inspector General of Police.
Before we touch security, maybe the economy would be an interesting one. But, Honorable Sikota, how then genuine are you as an alliance in dealing with some of your members, and in particular President Lungu and the PF, who not so long ago are party to this mess? Are you burying your heads in the sand? Are you really just playing banter to politics? Are you being honest with yourselves by saying President Hichilema has failed 2.5 years by taking over a messed up economy, by taking over an economy where debt was sitting at almost 89% in terms of the ratio to GDP? Is it fair to say that he has failed when he inherited such problems only less than 72 months ago?
It's extremely fair. First of all, by his very own standards, his very own promises, he set timelines that we should hold him to. It is not just arbitrary timelines that we're setting. There's the famous 14 hours timeline. There is also the timeline of 6 months. If you recall, when he went to the States, he said that the international investors and donors and so forth are just waiting for him to come in. And once he comes in, within 6 months, a timeline set by himself, within 6 months, there's going to be 25 billion, which is coming in. Those are just two examples. There's so many things where he himself set the timeline. He himself set the pass mark. One of the pass marks he set was on the fuel issue. That would bring it down to things. So we are not being unfair. We are holding him to the same timelines and the pass marks he himself set.
As we come to the timelines, I still feel you've not answered my question. What is the self-introspection of the UKA Alliance in terms of who you're allowing to be part of your membership? Is it an aspect of the enemy of my enemy is my friend? And in particular, I'm talking about the PF. They have their own internal wrangles. So you have an Edgar Lungu faction and a Mao Sampa faction. The matters are in court. But you cannot run away from the fact that the PF are party to some of the problems. They are actually systemic to some of the problems that President Hichilema is facing.
First of all, when you say that the enemy of my enemy is my enemy, UCA has no enemies. We are not a party that is in there looking at the other side as being enemies. We look at everybody in Zambia as being a Zambian who's entitled to participate in the politics. We may not agree with the way the positions they take, but certainly they are not enemies. The Imingalato kind of politics, where you're looking at people as enemies, is not what UCA is about. We are going to replace Imingalato with love. So the issue of enemies is not there. Having set that aside, I have stated in the beginning of this answer that we feel every Zambian is entitled to have a say in terms of how we govern, whether they are students, whether they are marketeers, whether they're taxi drivers, whether they are church mother bodies, they all should be heard. Whether they are former governments, whether it's MMD, whether it's PF, they are all entitled to participate in the governance of this country. Sometimes I always look back at this certain Sherpa guide in the Himalayas who had actually earlier on fallen into some ravine and was trapped there for maybe 2-3 days or something like that, and lost some of his fingers due to frostbite and toes and so on. And now he's the most sought after guide. The reason that is the most sought after guide is because people say, well, he's been through those troubles, so he knows the pitfalls. He's the one who can actually warn us to say, don't do that. Or if we fall into that pitfall, how we can survive like he did for 3 days. So sometimes somebody who seems to have failed is actually a great asset. It's sort of like a forewarning system that you can have.
So Honorable Sikota, let's put it in perspective for the viewers this evening. Part of the cracks of the matter in terms of alliance failures is really the lack of meeting point on ideologies. And unfortunately, I see this as very sad with our politics in Zambia. Today I'm UPND, tomorrow I'm ULP, tomorrow I'm MMD, tomorrow I'm this. The same person. We just changed dengues and politics really of the belly. So over 8 parties have come together. How do you have a meeting point, number one, on the aspect of ideologies? Is there a point, for example, that if party X or Y does not subscribe to where our meeting point is on ideologies, then they cannot work with us?
That is a very, very important point that you have raised, and it's something that we're currently working on. What we do have is broad agreement as to what needs to be done. Broad agreement in issues such as in the education sector. We are all agreed that yes, there must be free education. And we're saying that not only do we need free education, we must have free education in the manner that President Kaunda had free education. I'm a product of the free education. There's no way I can never say that free education should not be there. Now, with Kaunda's free education, it was coupled with quality as well. So it wasn't just merely free education, it was quality free education. So we feel that and all agree that we must have education, and it must be enhanced, free education, but it must be enhanced in being quality and free education. So we are going to add the quality to that. But the PF
Galungu is saying something else.
No. Again, you as press people, it's important that you actually listen to what he said. I listened to what he said. What he said is that on the question of free education, he would like to review it so that there is more quality put into it. He never said. He never at any stage. No, let me just finish this one point.
I will not even take it from what he said.
Allow me to just finish this one point.
He was misrepresented.
No. He specifically never ever said he was going to do away with free education. He never said that.
That's why my point, State Council, is this. I asked a question on the meeting point of ideologies, because if you've got 8 political parties, I'm assured that they're all coming in with a manifesto.
Yes.
Of their plan. Now, if I have to take the PF as one of the PF of the Edgar Lungu faction, as one of your alliance members, their policy in the last 10 years on education was not free education. The PF never gave free education. They removed meal allowances from universities. They removed part of, those free incentives. So how do we believe that that's what they're advocating for now? That's why I was asking, how do you introspect and hold your members accountable? You've given an example of Mingalatu. Probably one of the most brutal political regimes in terms of political maiming, political killing, political caterism is the PF in the last 7 years. And that's what the Zambian people voted out for in 2021. So is the UK Alliance telling us that with a member like the PF, those are some of the policies you want the Zambians to bring back? Political hooliganism, political maiming, political battering, the type of lack of free education we had in the last 10 years of the PF?
Our position, first of all, is that we are bringing in UCA policies. UCA is not ULP. UCA is not FDD. UCA is not New Heritage Party. UCA is not PF. UCA is not Golden Party. UCA is not Citizens First. UCA is none of those. UCA is a coming together of various people who have now agreed on some minimum policies, one of which is the one I've told you about, the free education one. And what is currently happening, we had a meeting just last Thursday. We had a meeting, and I think it was in the press and so on, taking in and reviewing some of the work which is being done by technical teams which are looking at all the various manifestos from the various parties and taking out and distilling which are the common areas, and then also distilling which are the areas where there may be some different positions, so that we are going to then be able to then discuss those ones to harmonize them in totality. As we are going along in our presses, we do set out that which has already been identified as being common ground. What is UCA policy, therefore, is not ULP policy. So it is not this other. It is a newborn baby which has its own traits, its own character. It is something new which will do things in a different way from what you have seen in this country before.
Far away, different from what the PF gave us. Now,
it is not any one of the individual parties
in the alliance. Now, let me ask this and just get clarity from you as interim chairperson. And I like the fact that sitting in front of me is somebody who did not participate as ULP in the 2021 elections, because most of your alliance members, I talk about the Citizens First, the New Heritage Party, NDC and others, were in the forefront in 2021 campaigning against the PF. I'm made to believe it was based on principle and ideology when they told us the PF needed to be voted out because they were corrupt. The PF needed to be voted out because they had failed the people of Zambia. There was, a breakdown in the rule of law and order. We also saw people who resigned as ministers to form parties in a corrupt government. It is very important for the people to believe what has happened 2 years down the line, that I can come and dine with the same people I called corrupt. what is the meeting point? What is the common denominator of what is bringing these parties together? That's why you corrected me when I said the enemy of my enemy. What is the meeting point?
As I've told you, the meeting point is the desire to provide the Zambian people with clear alternatives, better alternatives.
To put the UPND out?
No. That you're trying to constantly push that down my throat. I don't know why. And you very clearly, you know, I said from the beginning, I did state, didn't I, that is not our position. So I don't know why you're trying to push that down my throat when it is very clear. It goes back to what I was saying earlier about the other issue, that there seems to always be this wish or desire to give a certain narrative, even if it is not a true narrative. I don't know what I can say for you to stop trying to push things down my throat, which I've never said. And with that, I specifically said that is not our idea or plan. I think that was very clear. Now, coming back to what we're talking about, I think that what we are concentrated on as UCA is to move away from this politics of finger pointing. Oh, you had said that, you had done this, you had whatever. What we are focused on is now moving forward from where we are at this point. What is going to be the best policies for the people of Zambia? What is going to be the best way to move? Let me give a very extreme example, a very extreme example. Do you think that if Jesus had the kind of attitude you have, that Saul would ever have been part of the group? The answer is no. Let's move on.
Well, whether it's redirect counsel, mine is to ask you the questions this evening, and I still feel that what the people are asking out there is the genuineness, the integrity, and credibility of alliances, political ideologies, and what they do stand for. Or it's just an issue of convenience, and this is why we've seen these alliances fail and crumble. But in the aspect of moving...
That is a very genuine question. That is why you've seen those alliances failing, because they've been marriages of convenience. This alliance is not a marriage of convenience. This alliance is focused on providing to the Zambian people alternatives, providing hope to the people of Zambia. That is what makes it different.
Let me also be very forthright on the things that you are aware of, lest you accuse me of trying to shove it down your throat again. Former President Lungu had announced some sort of retirement, and he came back to announce that if the people of Zambia are suffering, I might as well come back into active politics and forgo my retirement, benefits. There are lots of things that the Zambian people hold accountable, to President Lungu, and quite a number of, bitter things, and asking the former ruling party to really repent on. The question is this, Interim Chairperson. Others feel that the UKA alliance is an attempt or a faction breakaway of the Lungu PF and sort of carry some of you along. Why am I asking this? The intro I gave. Issue of briefcase political parties being carried by those either with the financial muscles or ego issues. It's out there, I'm sure you've heard this. So how do you convince the public that this is not a PF faction breaking away? This is not a Alebwe de Lapo movement in trying to bring somebody back into power.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that you've asked that question. First of all, I'm not a spokesperson for PF. I've got no right to speak on behalf of PF. I've only got the right to speak on behalf of UCA. Now, Perhaps let me give a history as to how we started getting together. I think a lot of credit has to be given to two particular presidents of UCA. That is President Silavwe and also President Chichalakateka. Those two, way back, more than a year ago, started meeting individual political parties and generally finding out what was the feeling with regards to the way our Zambian politics were going and what we should do. If you recall, President Lungu then was in retirement. He was not even part of it. Those meetings can be said to be the ones which were the true genesis and beginnings of UCA. They came and saw me like they were seeing all other different political parties way before even President Lungu had said he is coming out of retirement. By the time he was coming out of retirement, the issue of us working together had reached a very advanced stage. It isn't like we just woke up one day and said, "Whoa, let's have a working alliance." It's something you have to work on. It's something where you have to get to know the people you're going to be working with, and you have to get comfortable with. It is a long process, and it was a long process. So those who say that this was formed in order to be an appendage to President Lungu, I clearly do not know the facts. They're just wanting to...
So just to clarify, Council, the UKA existed before the faction PF of President Lungu came to the party. So there was UKA and they've just joined.
UKA has only now been formed, but the process of formation of UKA started way before President Lungu came out of retirement.
So let's take it in a different way. I mean, again, you are very seasoned. You've been to Parliament. You've been running your own political party. Politics is about, numbers, and there is this term used as briefcase political parties or one-man, political parties. If you do not represent the people, and we measure that by the fact that do you have representation at civic level, ward level, parliament level. So probably the big issue or the elephant in the room around the PF is coming out of 2021, they remain a big opposition, and worry enough is that they are fragmented. Some of these alliance members have no proper grassroots representation using that benchmark. So that's why there's that big issue around the PF. So in your meetings, I know it may be too early, what is the futuristic approach towards who has the numbers, who clearly has the mandate, who clearly represents the people through what politicians will call, I have the constituencies? How are you approaching that? Is there any bigger... You said you come into the door, you put your ego hat away, but I can't remove the stripes off my shoulder that I'm coming with 50 MPs, 2 MPs, or 5 councillors, and so on. How are you approaching that?
Thank you very much for that question. Again, like I told you, we're a totally different set of people, and we do things in a totally different way. It's not the number of MPs you have or the number of councillors that you have. What is important for UKA is the 4 eyes. The 4 eyes. And it's important for you to see the four eyes. What are the 4 eyes? that for us are important, for us are the benchmark as to who should be in there. These are the 4 I's. The first one is integrity. That is the first I. The second I is ideas. The third I is innovation. And the fourth I is an invitation to the people for a better Zambia. If you have those 4 I's, that is what gives you the right to be at the table. If you look at history, look at President Macron. President Macron, the first time round, not the second time when he was re-elected, the first time round, he didn't have any political history of having structures and whatnot. He didn't. Yet he won. Look at President Zelensky of Ukraine. No structures, not. In fact, they were laughing at him and saying, "Oh, that's just a joker." But he captured the imagination of the people. UKA is going to capture the imagination of the people, not by going to them to say, "Look, we've got 50 MPs or we've got 70 councillors. Vote for us because we have that." We will be going to them. No, hold on. Let me finish.
On what the people are telling you, that you have a representation of the people.
Let me finish. Let me finish. We will not be going there to say, this is why you should vote for us because we have 50 councillors or we have 50 MPs. We will be going there and saying, vote for us because we've got these nice ideas, the following ideas. Vote for us because we're going to be innovative on these issues in this way. Vote for us because in terms of the governance, the integrity that we're going to bring to it is as follows. And vote for us, the fourth I, because we are giving you, let me finish the fourth I.
Yes, we're giving you an invitation.
We're giving you an invitation to a better Zambia and hope for the future.
Let's interrogate.
And that is what is going to be important for the people, and that is the reason why we're going to be successful.
Granted, Council, let's interrogate these 4 I's. Integrity. How then do the Zambians trust that this UKA is all about integrity based on what I asked again? That if some, and I want to give you very positive feedback after these presses, whether you look at the young Zambian population now, you know that our country is very young and interacting online. Some of the comments we pick talk about the fact that in your alliance, there is some new blood that young people look to that is not tainted integrity-wise and political-wise. What is your response to this? Some of you analyzed are said to be tired. You lack the ideas, you lack the innovation. Even the PF are told to lack the integrity. How do we mark that there's integrity when one hand President Kalaba resigns from a corrupt government, tomorrow he's in alliance with people he called corrupt? Where's the integrity?
First of all, we're talking about UKA being a group of people who have come together. What we're doing with each one of the constituent parties, because each party, no matter which party you're talking of, has got good and bad, each and every single party. What we're doing is we are taking the good from all of the parties, all the good ideas, all the good personnel, and leaving out that which is bad, synthesizing together something new, which is UKA, which is a combination of the good which is in all the various ones.
But if the bad hinges on integrity, how do you work with that?
We have taken the good parts. That is how you refine any product. You distill it. Distillation takes away the bad parts and you're left with something nice and pure. That is what UCA is going to do.
So what is your response to that young person who, during the first presses of this, is concerned about the fact that, again, we're not seeing fresh ideas. Again, we're not seeing anything that is innovative. We're not saying anything new to give us an invitation of hope. It is just recycled people with selfish ambitions and purely no integrity. It's just a matter of, you know, what some would say, political. I don't even know what word to use. I mean, it's like political. It's convenience. It's like political convenience. Those are genuine concerns from a young voter, young voters that are coming up. What is Sakwiba Sikota going to tell them? I was in the UPND, I have ULP, now I'm in UKA. What is Edgar Lungu going to tell them? I ruled for 7 years with a party in 10 years. Now I'm bringing new ideas onto the table when I left $16 billion worth of debt. What are we telling the young Zambians?
First of all, what we're telling the young Zambians is that, as you can see, we are a group of different political parties who have said, let us put aside our own particular ambitions, our own particular egos, and let us concentrate on what is best for the Zambian people. Let us give alternatives. And from our presses, you can see that our focus is providing for solutions to problems which are identified. And in terms of innovation, even in this short space of time, we have shown innovation. There was the issue, for example, of the civil service. On Lusaka Radio 2 weeks ago, President Edith Nawakwi and myself were on there, and the main thing we're talking about is that the civil service has gone to the dogs, basically. Not because the civil servants, the career civil servants who have been there don't know what they're doing, but because all of a sudden you have infused into there people with no civil service qualifications, people who have never known what the civil service regulations and so forth are. And we called upon the reintroduction of the civil service exams and courses that are held at NIPA. As a result of us making that the highlight of our Lusaka Radio interview, a week later, you heard that the ministers were taken for a three-day course, which is not enough. You cannot learn in 3 days what is required for the civil service. And also a commitment from the government. Let me finish. Let me check you and balance you. Let me finish my answer. So, because of giving that alternative and that suggestion, the government actually stated that they are going to reintroduce the need for civil servants to go there and so on. Yes, it is part of the checks and balances, and that's why you must give a tick to UCA that they are providing those checks and balances, as you can see from the result of that. And by the way, we even, when they did that, we congratulated them for listening to our advice.
Go on record, you know that when this government came into power, they did start that with the president, PSs and ministers meeting at Mulungushi. But if you count that as a tick,
no, meeting, perhaps you don't know the level at which the civil service courses went for, and at which level they are supposed to be important.
No, I am aware of what happened last week. NIPA has come in and other academic institutions around what you're saying.
Yes,
so,
and that's why we congratulate them for listening to us.
Allow me, for the sake of time, to go on to the aspect of alternatives that you talk about. What is UKA then saying on national and global problems, for example, climate change? The world has gone into the COP conventions. We recently had, COP 28, and we'll be going for COP 29, and commitments were made from Kyoto in terms of emissions and contributions. Sadly, we've got caveats towards budgetary allocations towards issues of the environment and climate change. Not to speak about even the UPND now, but even if you look from MMD into PF, allocation towards the national budget annually has been less than 3% on issues of the environment and climate change. Let's see the effects. Hydropower generation is down, food security is hampered, and this is the current problem on our doorstep right now, a looming hunger situation. What are you saying as a solution?
One of the things which made me happy when UPND came in is the setting up of the Ministry of Green Environment. And I thought myself...
Green economy and environment.
I thought myself, right thing to do, going in the right direction. Because I do feel that the issue of the environment and climate change are very, very important. What is saddening, however, in the 2.5 years, because that's a ministry, like I said, which is very, very important, as you rightly said. It has been more about going to seminars and not actually any actual policy on the ground. That is what is disappointing me. It's a good idea, but it seems it was done merely for window dressing purposes. We have to move away from window dressing and actually make sure that it is something that works. For example, you talk about the hunger situation and how it's connected to climate change. It is. Here in Zambia, we do have a lot of water resource. Yes, seasonally it will dry up and so on, but we do have a lot of it. But all that water resource, if you talk about the water resource which is in the Luapula Plains, in the Barotse Plains, lots of water, but all of it just flows through Zambia and flows to the seas. We are not having any plans of capturing some of it, so that during the dry seasons we can be feeding it to where it's needed. We are not doing things like canals from the Luapula water resources, which are there, the Barotse ones, to farming areas where the water could be used. It's very sad that in this country, the last time we had canals built was in the 18th century in the Barotse Plains by those villagers. Since then, we've not had. Each time you hear about canals, they're just going to dredge the ones which were built by the villagers.
So are those some of the solutions you're putting?
Those are some of the solutions we're putting forward that we must be thinking ahead.
Are those now new innovative solutions from the new UKA? These things, people in the PF, then others never thought about them?
You keep on looking back.
Just like you're blaming the UPND that they failed to do this.
We're in the present with the UPND.
Yes,
you're
pointing at them.
The UPND
and you're pointing at them for failing.
The UPND is not in the past. The UPND is in the present. So we're saying these things which are going wrong presently, this is the way to deal with them.
And some of your members in the present, and some of the members of the UK in the present had the opportunity to rule this country. And that's why I'm asking, are these fresh, innovative ideas that they didn't think about?
You go and ask them. I know about what UKA is thinking about and wants to do. I'm not here to speak on behalf of PF or to speak on behalf of MMD who were in the past. I'm here to talk about UKA, who has never been in government, what they're going to do in the future. That's what I'm here for.
The biggest cry of every Zambian right now is the cost of living, the price of basic commodities, meal and so on, and I'm attaching this to, again, the looming food hunger because of the weather patterns. Since you're saying you're playing an effective role of giving solutions and an alternative, how do we have a turnaround in the fact that we have a looming hunger situation and the cost of living? What are you proposing?
Yes, it's really very sad that Zambian households right now, you have people having to ration the food. They will perhaps tell the secondary going kids that you will only eat the supper. The primary ones who come in that you will only eat lunch. Supper will be for those ones. That's how bad the situation is. There is hunger. One of the things that we need to do is agree amongst all of us that subsidy is not a dirty word. Right now, you say subsidy, it's as if you said a dirty word. The way you'll be attacked. No. You've got to work for your thing. You can't be living on handouts and so on, like it's a dirty word. But what you have to realize is that those kids who are dying of malnutrition, those people who are dying of hunger, they are not merely mere statistics. They are actual people. They are actual people. It is not that they don't want to work or they are lazy. It's that they have got no way of getting jobs, no way of tilling the land. They don't even have the land. So in the meantime, don't look at them as statistics. They're human beings. What do we do about them? So one of the things we need to do is the issue of subsidy for things like mealie meal.
Just a rider there. The argument around subsidies are that it's not tenable in a country that is highly indebted and has no headroom to subsidize.
That is, if you lack innovation, then you'll argue that. Right now, we're giving away so much of our wealth and letting the mines go away with so much. If we didn't give them those holidays, the amount of money we would have would clearly allow us to subsidize things like mealie meal, help save lives of people. And in any event, it is not that we do not currently have subsidies. We do. But we're trying to hide because we're not honest enough to say we are subsidizing. Let's look at Ego mealie meal. That is subsidized. Why do I say it's subsidized? They are not selling it at the cost of production. Some of the costs which are not put into that Ego mealie meal are the salaries for the ZNS employees who work in those various mills. They're not put into there. They're paid centrally by ZNS. The electricity which is used at those things, they're not paid by Ego whatever. It is paid by ZNS. The facilities they're there, again paid by ZNS. Even the transportation of that mealie meal, the grain to where they are, and then after it's been milled to the various places, it is being done using ZNS vehicles, which is not factored into there. The fuel that goes into there is ZNS again. And do you know that the type of vehicles they use are the ones for multi-terrain, and especially made that even adulterated fuels and so on will run those machines. And so they are not efficient machines because they are supposed to be for crisis situations. So
you're preaching
but they are using it for that. So we do have subsidies, and it is not a dirty word.
So you are preaching for subsidies in agriculture, subsidies in the fuel sector.
And then the way you do those subsidies must be in a way that does not hurt the rest of the industry.
Sorry, I would
with the ego
as an example.
Yeah, as an example. What you've done is you are subsidizing, and with that subsidy, you are now putting out of business the other commercial millers. You can go and ask them, you can bring them on your program. They'll tell you, because of price undercutting by ego, it is sending them out. So what would be better is don't just subsidize ego, subsidize all around, so that you're not killing jobs as well, but at the same time it brings down the minimum. And because of that, you'll find that these people are not milling, and that's why you have shortages.
Very quickly, for the sake of time, in line with subsidies, it's attached to the issue of the debt restructuring, process. Again, this is a national issue, regardless of political color or divide. If you're preaching solutions and alternative, we still seem to be at a stalemate of where the debt restructuring pen will come to paper. You are proposing an endeavor, you're proposing solutions. What are you saying to the UPND government? What should they be doing in regards to the debt restructuring process?
With the debt restructuring process, the first thing they should do, if they truly want to have the Zambians assist them in there, and the Zambians have got the right to do so, is not to be making it secret negotiations with these people. To come up front to say, this is what is being proposed, what do you think we should do? Should we accept what they're saying? Because we understand they're saying that subsidies should not be there and so on. Should we accept that there's no subsidies? If you are saying that no, we don't accept that there's no subsidies, then what will we do in order to ensure that we can do that? But they want to make it like it's like a secret society, like a Mason society or something like that, where everything is in secret and you don't know what's happening. The first thing they should do is be open to the Zambian people. After all, they're supposedly doing it on behalf of the Zambian people. So the Zambian people have got a right to know what is currently being negotiated, what are the demands by the other side, so that we can also put in the input.
So transparency. Finally, Honorable Sikota, there are other members of the opposition that are not party to this UKA alliance. Of course, the Constitution grants freedom of assembly, but the likes of the Socialist Party, the Zambia Must Prosper, the Democratic Party, saying this is already a failed project. The UPND calls this a brought-in dead, a BID project. You cannot be trusted. You've been tried, you've been tested, you are failures. Why should the Zambians trust that this is this is an alliance of integrity, this is an alliance that means well, this is an alliance of ideas, this is an alliance of hope for the Zambians, yet others see a failed group of individuals?
Opinions will always be there. Everybody's got a right to an opinion. An opinion, however, can never change the truth. The truth of the matter is that the formation of UCA has brought about hope amongst Zambians. On social media, you can see how everybody is excited about it. You have all political parties. The main thing now they're talking about is UCA. It shows you that it is something which is of consequence. The government, you had a very funny situation where when we, on a Monday when we had a presser, it would appear that the cabinet meeting must have been stopped for them to listen to the presser, because they then sent Minister of Information to come and give a counter presser instead of being in the cabinet meeting. That's how much this brought-in dead is doing. The brought-in dead is even stopping cabinet meetings. The brought-in dead is making every single political party make it an issue they must comment on. The brought-in dead has had on social media, I'm sure you have seen, groups spouting up and saying, no, we are part of this and so on, we want you to go ahead. To tell you the truth, we are being slow as UCA. The Zambian people are moving faster than us, and we are right now trying to catch up with those people who support UCA because they are not being slow. It is a tremendous movement.
State Councillor Sakwiba Sikota, thank you so much for coming through to Costa this evening.
Thank you very much.
I've been talking to the interim chairperson of the United Kwacha Alliance for Zambia, Mr. Sakwiba Sikota. Like I said in my introduction, we've had a number of political party alliances in Zambia stemming from 1962. None of them have proved to be successful in terms of taking a government into office. Others may argue that this is working with the current fragmentation of alliances right now in existence. We see whether this will indeed stand a test of time en route to 2026. Only time will tell, and the decision by the Zambian people on the ballot. Good night.
Costa was brought to you by FQM Trident Limited.